Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, One Piecers? Welcome back to another deck profile. We are here with my teammate Zuhair, who some of you guys might remember from the Digimon community. He tore up that scene in the earlier days of the game. He went to the Niagara tournament with a bunch of our other teammates, and he was the highest placing out of our boys, and he ended up getting top 32 with Kaido, ended up winning a alt-art chopper, among other things. So, Zu, first of all, how you doing?
So, I'm doing pretty good.
Little sickly, but sorry, we're gonna get through this as best we can. All right, so you played Kaido. Now, just from me knowing your testing and whatnot, I know you were big on Kid at first, and then you eventually made the change to Kaido. You were testing Kaido for a long time, and I know that you have a particular build that you think is the best way to play Kaido. You certainly made me hate the Kaido deck, so I'm not gonna argue with you on that. But you know, talk a little about like why you made that change and why you felt like Kaido was the play for this event.
Yeah, I was initially playing Kid. I liked that deck a lot too, but every time I played against a Kaido player, I was just always scared and I never knew how to play properly because it was just extremely hard to play around every single bomb that they have. So I just decided to switch to Kaido.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. As a Kid player myself, I mean, you know, we've tested before. Like, it's very frustrating to just like play a guy, gets popped, you never even got to attack with it, like that kind of stuff. It's very frustrating. So one of the things that people say about Kaido is like it's a super high roll deck. Like, it's basically trash unless you hit ramp, which I think we both know is not true. You can definitely win games without hitting your ramp. But just speak a little bit on like, what do you think about that phrase? Like, do you think there's any merit to it? Do you think it's not true at all? Like, what do you think about the fact that people say Kaido has to high roll?
It definitely is a high rolly deck. It doesn't have to, but when it does, it my opinion, it's the strongest deck in the game. If you're able to see your curve or high roll like a field spell on turn 2. I honestly, like, every time I hit field spell turn 2, I feel like I just can't lose. The games that are hard are when you don't open field spell. And even then, it's not unwinnable. I didn't open field spell every single game throughout the tournament. Although the 2 losses that I had, I did not open field spell. They still came down really close. I actually lost both games by only 1k. And that's without my field spell. So yeah, you can still manage without the field.
Gotcha. And yeah, just so people know out there, Zu finished X2. He ended up losing to the winner of the event, as well as another really good Digimon player. So he was right on the bubble for top 16. But anyways, let's get right on to the main deck here, and let's see what you're working with.
Okay, yeah, so I played Kaido. His effect is just activate main, Dawn -7, and you trash your opponent's life. We'll get into that effect more later. And then to start, I played 4 of, what is this guy's name?
Orochi.
Kurozumi Orochi. He's just a 2k counter. He actually came up big because my first 2 rounds were against law players and I won the dice roll, so I ended up going first. And I hardcasted him on turn 1 in both rounds against it, just to have an extra attacker for all the Bonnies and Momos that they might have. And it actually made them not use their Bonnies for a couple of turns. And by the time they were like ready to use them, I had enough Dawn to start popping them. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that's a cool interaction I saw you learn in testing. That was really cool.
Yeah. And then after that, we played for Sasaki. He's just another 2k counter. You can hardcast him, like summon him as a last resort if you really feel like you need to ramp. I never did that once through the whole tournament. But you can. It's an option that's available if you need to. For example, if your hand is playing for like an even number of Dawns, and what that means is like if you have your 6-drop king or any other even number costed card, and you went first, you can even out your Dawns by ramping 1. So on turn 3, you'll go from 5 to 6 after you swing and trash one with this. And then after that, you can go to 8, which becomes relevant later on in the deck. And then the last 2k counter I played was X-Drake. This one's actually good. Like, even when you summon him, I played this guy more times throughout the day than I ever did before. in testing or anything. He was surprisingly really good. And even if you don't have like a big bomb to play, you can play him out. He makes your opponent pitch a card, and then you just have a 5k attacker from then on. And in some matchups, it is important to have an attacker during like the mid game. So he was good for that, along with being a 2k.
Gotcha. And at certain points, we were at like 16 2Ks. I know you bounced back to like 14, and then you ended up on 12. So you feel like 12 is the right number?
It felt most balanced to me. And part of that was just making room in the deck for some other tech cards that I'll show later. But yeah, 12 felt good. I play tested 8 for a little bit, and that definitely felt like too little. So that's why I went back up to 12.
Gotcha.
And then after that, we have the 4 field spells, which you just have to play. Playing any less than 4 is just no good because you want to see this as soon as possible. The later you see it, the worse it becomes. Once you get to 10 Dawn, unless you use a big effect like Kaido 10 or Kaido 9, you kind of just go back to 10 constantly anyways. So the later you see this card, the less value it actually has. So yeah, we played 4 of that, and then after that we played 4 of the 2 cost 3k blocker, and 3 of the Black Maria. We maxed out on this one because it's just better statted than this one. This one can also block a Shanks attack, while this one cannot. And I played 7 blockers, mostly because once I got like 1 or 2 of my bombs out, I just wanted to start blockering up, because that would be the point in the game where you start going a little low on life, and you just want to protect and hide behind your bigger statted battle cards.
I remember one comment you made was like the increased blockers also help against red. Was that also the case?
Sorry, say that again.
I remember you said like in testing, because originally you were on like only four blocker, but
yeah,
you talked about Black Maria like being helpful against red. Is that still true?
Yeah, it's just helpful to get blockers out, especially if you go second. You can actually start swinging with them, which I did a couple of times throughout the day, like putting some Dawn on them and swinging them just for some extra attacks or some extra pressure. I remember there was one game I started swinging at one of the Law's Zoros. I had 2 of these blockers out, and I didn't have much else in my hand to actually play on that turn, so I just swung 5k at that Zoro 3 times, and he saved it the first 2 times, but the third time he started losing too many cards in hand, so he had to let it die, and it felt pretty good, because even then, if he wanted to kill my blockers, he would have to swing at them, and in that case, they're just soaking up attacks and diverting attention away from him attacking my life. So I did that actually quite a bit, swinging with this one in particular, because it only needs 2 to go to 5k. And then I played 2 Jack. This was in case I went first. For the times I went first, and I would have a king in my hand for like the next turn, I could play this on turn 2 and then go to 4 energy so that I can make sure I'm actually able to play the king on turn 3. And then going second, it's actually kind of interesting because if there's 2 scenarios that I can think of right off the top of my head. One is going second against a red deck or a deck that plays Zoro. If they go first and on turn 2 they play Zoro and swing, you can on your turn 2 going second play the Jack, ramp to 5 energy, and then 2 of them will be active, and then you can take those 2 Dawn, put them under your leader, and swing at that Zoro for 7, which is a really good number to be swinging at Zoro with. And the second situation is something similar, except it's with blue Dofi. If they use their leader effect on turn 2 going first and play out a 5k body, and they don't have like a 1-cost blocker, you can do the exact same play and swing at that 5k body for 7k after playing the Jack, while still also ramping. And he was just like, a backup for when you don't see the field spell. And then I played 3 Babanuki. This guy was actually really, really good. because sometimes I wanted, particularly on turn 3, regardless of whether you're going first or second, sometimes you have a bomb in your hand for like either the next turn or the turn after that, and you're like, if I use something like a king right now and pop one of my Dawn, or a queen and pop one of my Dawn, I won't be able to play this bomb next turn. And that's when you would play this guy to present a threat, but still manage your Dawn so that you can play your bombs in the following turns.
Yeah, with that being said, there's plenty of times in testing that you guys would just like cast like a Kaido 10 or a Kaido 9 and just not Dawn minus. So that's still also an option. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah. You got to be really careful with your Dawn minus effects, especially like turn 3-4 with Kaido, because if you ruin the curve that you have in your hand, you're just gonna lose, more than likely. And then after that, we played 4 Queen. This is pretty staple. Queen is extremely good. A lot of times when I knew that once I pass turn, my opponent is gonna like really push me, you could just play Queen. 1, it's a blocker and it's 6k, so it's already quite good. And 2, you can start filtering your hand and kind of draw more counter cards while discarding cards that don't help you defend, such as extra field spells or maybe some bombs that in some matchups may or may not be irrelevant. Like for example, King 6 is not that great in the mirror match, and a lot of times when I played Queen in the mirror match, I would pitch that King 6 out of my hand because you don't often actually play that card in that matchup. It can be hit by Brachio Bomber, it can be hit by the 9-drop Kaido, and it doesn't actually kill a whole lot unless they play like Black Maria Forecast Blocker. So yeah, Queen is like one of the best cards, honestly, in the deck. And then after we played 3 King 6, I actually really wanted to play 4, but I had to find space for some other stuff. So I did cut one of the King 6 to add some. It was actually to add a second King 7, which we put down here. I was initially playing 4 of these and 1 of these, but there was the Law matchup and the Red matchups. These are like particularly strong in, and I felt that my matchup was a little weak against those, so I made up for it by cutting a King 6 for a King 7.
Yeah, I know for a while you didn't want to play King 7 at all, but because the Dawn minus 2 was like a pretty steep cost. But yeah, I mean, killing 2 guys in one shot, pretty broken.
Yeah, playing this on curve sometimes can hurt you a lot because you kind of freeze your Dawn, especially if you don't have a field spell. If you have a field spell, it's kind of okay, but if you don't, you kind of freeze yourself. For example, if you have 7 Dawn and you don't have field spell and you play this, next turn you're just going back to 7 Dawn. You don't actually go up, and
right.
Sometimes that could mess up your curve or slow you down a lot to the point your opponent can start abusing that fact. For example, like he's not going to 9 Dawn next turn, I can play like a Yamato or something.
Right, he can't Kaido 9, he can't Kaido 10.
And he can't answer it, yeah. So you actually do have to be very careful when playing this card, but once you get to 10, then this card becomes really, really good, because you don't actually slow yourself down at all. You just get the 2 Dawn back at the start of your next turn. And then after that is I played the TP 8-drop Kaido at 2, and this is, I think, the card that separates my deck from most of the other people who play Kaido. I found this card to be really, really good, especially if you miss your field spell. You can kind of make up for it with this card, because this card ramps you a Dawn at the end of your turn in active mode every turn. So a lot of times, if you draw your field spell later, or say you don't draw it at all, this can actually keep you in the game, because once you start burning your Dawn for your effects, especially like your 9 drop, it's sometimes becomes slow to get back up to 10 if you don't have field spell, and this helps a lot with that. And one thing this card can do is when you have your field spell and you have this out at the same time, you can play a 9-drop on 10 energy, and then next turn, you'll ramp 1 back with this, and then at the end of the turn, you'll ramp 1 back with this, and then at the start of your next turn, you'll get 2, and you'll be back at 9. So you can actually play 9 drops back to back if you have both of these out at the same time. On top of that, it's also a 9k 8 drop, which means there's the only removal that can actually deal with this is the 10 drop Kaido. In the mirror match, this card sometimes baits your opponent into 10 dropping, because the longer this stays out, the more value it gets, and it becomes too much for them. And then once they 10 drop you, you can 10 drop them back. It also threatens Blast Breath every single turn. Your opponent's gonna question themselves whether you have a Blast Breath or not, because the Dawn that it ramps comes in active mode. So you can tap out all the time and then still have the 1-up at the end of the turn. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah, and the other thing too that it also offers is like if you have field plus that, you can just burn like multiple times in a game, which is also pretty insane.
You can start burning like more liberally. There was times where I burned twice in a game because I had both of these cards out, and I would get back up to 10 so fast. This is actually my favorite card, I want to say, in the deck. I love that card. And then next after that, I played 3 9 drops. Reason I played 3 over 2 is because I am playing this, and like the play that I just explained where you can 9 drop back to back when you have this out is extremely powerful. It's like if you pull that off, I want to say it's almost unwinnable for your opponent because it's just so much pressure.
Yeah, dude, I see some builds that just like, hyper ramp up to the 10 drop, but I think the 9 drop is the most broken card in the deck.
Yeah. This card is extremely strong. And then after that, we played only 2 10 drops. I think I don't want to say most, but a lot of the Kaido decks I've seen play 3. And that's like it's not a bad thing. It's still pretty good because the 10 drop is really important in the mirror match. But the reason I played 2 is because I play this guy, and a lot of times when this guy's out, you don't really want to 10 drop it away unless you absolutely have to, which I actually did have to one time in the mirror match. I think it was actually my last round of Swiss where I played this guy. So in the mirror match, not a lot happens in the first like 3 turns. So I was actually pretty free to play this out without any repercussions. And then once I did, he played the 9 drop on me and he killed the queen that I had on board. And then swung at me and brought me down to actually 1 life. And then I responded with the 10 drop because I just had to. Even though I had this on board, I just had to 10 drop. Otherwise, he could burn my last life from his leader effect the following turn. And then just swing at my life for like a big number with the 10 drop. So I just had to do it, and that was like the only scenario where I've ever done that. But yeah, I didn't actually use this card that often, unless I absolutely had to, or I didn't have another like good play. And then after that, I played 4 Blast Breath. This card is important to have at 4 because again, I'm playing this. And with this card on board, this is always active no matter what, even if you tap out.
Yeah, dude, 1 Dawn 4K is way too broken not to play 4 copies.
Yeah, and a lot of people were just very shocked with how easily I was able to out-combo their all-ins because I had this card out and these in my hand. And then the last 2 cards I played were the 2 Thunder Bagwas. This card is like very weird to me. It's good, but it's also dead a lot of times. When it's actually easier for me to play than like a standard Kaido because I have this card and it can ramp inactive, making it easier to keep energy up for the Thunder Bagua. And it did come up big sometimes to get back to like specific number of Dawn when you're trying to play like a specific bomb that you have in your hand. But a lot of times I would just draw these and I just didn't need them. And I think like if I had to play again, I think I would actually cut one of these for a 4th Babanuki. This card is just like, on top of just being a 1k counter, which is still pretty important because a lot of these 1ks I have in my deck, I hate countering with them. Like these blockers, I want to use as blockers, and these queens I want to actually play.
Right.
These ones I'm actually more okay with countering out of my hand later in the game because once you get to 10 Dawn, you're more looking at playing like all of these cards. But this card is very important for stabilizing in the mid game, and that's why I want to put it back up to 4. Thunder doesn't really help that much. I think even just at 1, it's okay. People sometimes like playing this card because you can hit it out of life, but I just don't like to play like that. So, yeah, that's the whole deck.
All right, man. Very cool. So one last question before we do shoutouts. So I'm sure people want to know, what do you think of this game compared to Digimon?
To be honest, this game is sometimes feels a little more RNG than Digimon, which is kind of crazy to say. Because there was all, especially when Digimon first came out, there was the whole thing about, oh, I didn't draw a rookie, and now the game is significantly harder. But this game kind of has those moments as well, and it actually has less deck cycling than Digimon did, because in Digimon you would draw for every evolution,
right?
And you could at least create ways to cycle through your deck. This game you can't really do that. At least some decks have search power, but this one in particular doesn't. Outside of Queen is the only thing that can actually cycle through your deck. But with that being said, I am enjoying this game a lot at the moment, and I'm having fun just trying to figure out how to get better and all that stuff. And I found that deck building in this game is actually very, very important. You have to build your deck in a certain way so that you curve out properly, and just like have ways in your deck to kind of ensure that you curve out properly. But yeah, I'm pretty like focused on this game at the moment, for the near future at least. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I wish I was able to sign up for more treasure cups and go to more of them, but unfortunately this was the only one I was able to sign up for.
Gotcha, man. Well, anyways, let's finish it up with any shout outs you want to throw out there.
Shout out to the team, Crossworld TCG. Shout out to Mystic TCG, our sponsor, and shout out to everybody who helped me playtest or gave me input on the deck. Specifically, I played a lot with Ryan Severin. I played a lot with Jordan Beard. I played a lot with you as well, Joey. I played with Danny a lot. So yeah, shout out to everybody who gave me input. Shout out to everybody who helped me test, and shout out, I guess, to Carta as well for hosting the event. It ran really smooth, and we didn't finish super late, so that was really good as well.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations, and good job cashing out on your promos, and we'll see you next time.